really have to get you want to share your thoughts, but you just want to protect your own fears on the situation. Given the child who...
We'll check back in with Rich again. All of our team calling in, as dedicated as they are, but often the best of those cell phones, as we're moving either to the scene or trying to get into the newsroom, get the best of us, like those calls with our family all day long that could cut out now and then. But we'll check back in with both Dr. Besser and Dr. Ashton as the afternoon develops here. It's now closing in on 3 o'clock this afternoon. We have learned from the White House that President Obama will make a statement today. He was informed this morning. He has been briefed several times throughout the morning. He'll address the nation on perhaps the worst school shooting in American history for an elementary school. That is our history for an elementary school. That is our belief this afternoon. And as we know, he's just begun what...
Okay, then. That was live ABC News on what you all know about already going on in Newton, Connecticut. Some nut, actually a couple of nuts, went out and decided to shoot up an elementary school. There's 27 dead in Newton, Connecticut, mostly kids in the age range of kindergarten through fourth grade. Sorry about that. I'm a little broken up right now. Sorry. 27 dead in Connecticut. 2 gunmen. Most of the victims were kids, running in the age range of kindergarten through 4th grade. So in other words, between 4 and 8 years old. 9 years old, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a little verklempt. One shooter is already dead. They believe it to be Ryan Lanza of New Jersey. Manhunt is on for the second shooter. SWAT has been called in what they're calling quite possibly the most catastrophic school shooting in American history. And that's 27 dead now. We don't know how many injured. When the death toll may climb, we may hit more than 30 people, more than 30 children. We're calling this the worst school shooting since the 1999 Columbine disaster, where there were 13 dead and 24 injured. Of course, on that one, I kind of almost sort of understood. I mean, that was fellow students, and if you went to high school, there were plenty of people in high school that you would have liked to have shot, but this is different. This is 2 guys. I believe one of them, Ryan, allows to be 24 years old. This is different. This is 2 grown men that got up and decided, you know what we should do today? Shoot up a school. It's like you read my mind. If you're at all offended by the levity in my voice, please understand that I'm only using that levity because I don't want to just break down and cry again. What happened in the good old days when this type of shit happened somewhere else, some other country, Of course, this happens 3 days after Jacob Roberts killed 2 people in Oregon Mall, and then himself. It does seem like the holidays really brings out the nuts, the crazies. They're out there, man. It brings them out, and they just don't know what to do with themselves. They just lose it. You know, and in a lot of ways, for me, this is worse than the mall shooting or the shooting that we had last year here in Los Angeles, where some guy went off and killed like 13 or 14 people at a salon, or the nutcase in Colorado that killed and wounded all those people at the premiere of the last Batman movie. You know, these were all kids, man. I mean, it used to be that kids were off limits, right? That you don't fuck with kids. You know, murder, fine. Rape of male or female, fine. But you don't fuck with kids. That's supposed to be the rule, right? There's a reason that serial killers, when they do kill kids, they keep themselves very, very secret and quiet. You know, they're not like other serial killers. Some serial killers, they defy you to try to catch them. They make themselves public. They challenge you to come after them. But the ones that go after children, they know how fucked their lives will be if they get caught. Not like a normal serial killer, which is quite the oxymoron, don't you think? Normal serial killer. No, we're talking about, you know, serial killers that target kids. You know, they're different. They're a different level of scum, I think. You know, there's a reason that when you go to prison, you do not want to be known as a child molester or a kid killer. You do not want to be known as that guy, because even hardened felons, murderers, mob guys, serial killers, rapists, they will kill you. If you're that guy, they will come after you. I honestly thought I could keep perspective here. I could distance myself from this. But this isn't like the Columbine kids, man. Those kids were at least teenagers. You know, some of the, you know, they had experienced somewhat more of life. I mean, not to, you know, diminish the tragedy there, but they understood the world as almost adults. But when your oldest victim is 9, when your oldest victim is 9, you're a special kind of scum. I said, you just don't do that. You don't. And I know that this has got to be particularly terrifying for you. If you have children in this age range, and I know quite a few people that do. Young children. There are 3 children under the age of 5 in my building that I know, I've met, I've joked with, I tease a little bit, squeeze their cheeks, cute little bastards. There are people like my buddy Dave Nystrom, you know, who I've met his 2 boys. You know, beautiful little boys, just cute as buttons, you know, in that age range. My buddy Brendan Collins, Chef Brendan Collins, has a little girl. And I gotta tell you, he wrote about this on Facebook today, and I commented on it, and then I realized 30 other people did too, because it's something that hits so close to home on us. My friend Mary and her husband Dave, wonderful people, who also just, you know, recently had a baby, you know, and this scares the shit out of them, as it does my friend Fauna Sharp in Missouri. She's got 2 boys. I think 3 and 6 years old, and that's that age range, and that's gotta scare the fuck out of her and her husband. And yeah, I'm sorry. How does it not scare the fuck out of you? My own sisters. I got 3 of them. You know, the oldest, I got let's see, I have one, two, three. I have about 4 or 5 nieces and nephews in that age range, or close to that age range, and that's terrifying. When you're a parent, that is the scariest thing on the planet. Because the first thought that always occurs to somebody that has kids when they hear a story like this is most likely, well, thank God that didn't happen here. And other darker thoughts that go with it. So I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back and see if I can compose myself, okay? I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
They felt so sick.
And how old are you?
8.
You're 8 years old. What's your name again?
Alexis.
What's your last name?
Dwasik.
How do I spell that?
Wasik.
And you're in 4th grade? 3rd grade. 3rd grade. How did you find out about this?
They actually have an alert system through the school, and so they sent a message saying something, I don't even remember the message, something about lockdown, and so I figured it was, honestly, I figured it was with a high school, and little did I know that it was actually here, so I actually called my husband and said, can you go find out what are they talking about? And he goes, get in the car and drive, go get her to school, I'll meet you at the school. So he got here and I got here, and he had her in his arms, and I'm crying, and so she just goes, Mama, I'm okay, I'm here. But it just doesn't even seem real. I mean, I'm still like, really? I mean, here in Newtown, in this small town, and you read about this everywhere else but here, and it's heart-wrenching for the children and for the parents and grandparents and everybody. I can't fathom. It just doesn't even seem real. It's like, should I be pinched to see if it really is real? And it's just heart-wrenching.
Feels like a dream, and a bad dream.
It's a nightmare. It feels like a nightmare.
Yeah, it does. It really, 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 really does. Welcome back. I'm Joe the Shirt. This is Off the Cuff. Not my most professional moment ever. Then again, I'm not paid for this, so I'm allowed to get a little reclampty. We were just listening to what's going on there in it's Newtown, not Newton. You know what? When I first saw it and read it, heard about it, it said Newton. It's Newtown, apparently. Hold on a sec.
As well as the body language between mother and daughter. The mother was clearly so relieved.
Yeah. So as you know, this tragedy has happened in Newtown, Connecticut, and I was just watching an interview here with one of the ABC News correspondents with mother and child, little Alexis. I gotta tell you, when you're that parent, the one that they were just interviewing, when you're that parent, it's like somebody reaches into your chest, grabs your heart, squeezes it, and then you find out, oh, it wasn't your kid. Oh, thank God. And then, the weight of the world goes off your shoulders, the clenching in your chest is relieved. And I think a lot of times that's the dark little part of us that we never like to admit to anybody. When you hear about a tragedy like this, and you live in that particular town, you turn on the news, you're in your car, you're at work, you hear your coworkers talking about something that they just heard of. It's like, a bunch of kids were shot at an elementary school, and you get in your car or you get on the phone and you get going to your kid's school, and the only fucking thought in your head is please, 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 let it not be my kid. And it's a selfish thought. It's a very selfish thought. What's that? 27 are dead? What about mine? And that's the part that we don't like to admit to, but it's a true part of us, I mean, that's the one and only thought that crosses through a parent's mind. Obviously, it's not like they want other children hurt. It's not like, we wish it upon anybody else. But the one thing we do wish is, let it not be my kid. There's a Christmas song, and yes, the irony does not escape anybody that this is happening, like a week or so before Christmas. Doesn't escape, There's a song called by Band-Aid that was done way back in the 80s, for all of you that can remember that time. Where they're talking about, feeding the world and helping the people in Africa, and, everybody getting together and doing good things. And my favorite line in that song is, quote here, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you, end quote. That is probably the truest sentiment that you can have, when it comes to these awful, awful tragedies, these horror stories, these catastrophes, these please thank God it's them instead of me. Thank God it's those kids and not my kid. And it's a selfish thought. And you know what? Selfish is not a 4-letter word. Selfish is not a dirty word. Okay? Because there's not a single parent that's going to go, oh, well, thankfully it was, your child wasn't killed, but mine was. Better yours than mine. No, that's not the way we think. We want ours to be safe. This could have happened anywhere. This happened in Connecticut. I happen to not know anybody in Connecticut, so it didn't, buzz through my brain. But if I heard about killings in West Palm Beach, Florida, you'd be able to, you couldn't drag a needle out of my ass with a tractor. I'd be so clenched up. Are you kidding me? Because that's where most of my family lives. Or New York City. If you told me that a bunch of kids got killed in New York City, where half my family lives, I'd lose my mind. I'd call my sisters and find out what the fuck is going on. Same thing in Florida, or in Missouri, or if North Hollywood over here, or Long Beach, where I know people. I have friends that have kids in that age range, and that's the thing. I care about this story on the basis of they were children, and you're not supposed to fuck with children. But about the individual children themselves, I obviously don't care about. Neither do you, really. You feel bad for them. Young lives taken, and any and all potential destroyed. All the other children around them living with the horrors of the things they saw that day, today, But, what I said, I don't know any of them. I feel bad for them. I really do. But when it comes to the children the parents if you're a parent, that's who it really hits, and it's a difficult thing to deal with. It's a difficult thing to admit, and most people won't admit it to themselves, Thank God it was them and not me. Thank God it was your kids and not mine. And it's a horrible thing to say. It's horrible. That's why nobody says it. Nobody will ever say it out loud to one another. I can because, I'm Joe the Shirt. I can be an asshole if I want to. But, if it was my sister Yamila's kid, or Jessica's kids, or my sister Sandra's kids, or Dave's kids, or Fauna's kids, or Mary's kids, or anyone, these people that I know, you can't. What do you say to them at that point? When I was a kid, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, one of my best friends at the time, my buddy Jamal, his little brother was hit by a car. I was 9, so his little brother, hit by a car, died, killed. And after that, Jamal and I stopped being friends, not for anything that personal between each other, but there was just nothing that we could talk about anymore. We just drifted apart because that's what was going to happen. And there was nothing I could do. I was 9. There's nothing you can do to console anybody in that situation. There's nothing you can do to make them feel better. The kid got killed. What are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to do? Okay, I'm getting all emotional again. I'm going to take another break here, and we'll listen in more to ABC News here, okay?
it as the days unfolded. How could it have possibly happened here? We do know that the president is expected to speak shortly. We will bring that to you from the White House. He's been briefed all morning long. He's reached out almost immediately to Connecticut's governor, Dan Malloy, who's on the scene. He offered condolences and said, we will do anything we can for your state. The governor there, meeting with parents who came for their children and did not find their children at the firehouse. And he's expected to speak also within the hour. 3:30 was the time given to us, but as we know, we'll hardly keep them to it on a day like today when they're dealing with the raw emotion that follows such an enormous tragedy. Pierre Thomas tracking the investigation. And Pierre, as we wait for the president to address this nation, what's the latest about the gunman and about his relationship with someone inside that school?
The shooter, that his mother was among those killed at the school, and that some of her students may have been targets.
Pierre, we believe that she was in fact a teacher?
Yes.
And what do we know about the other part of this investigation? That it might not just be the school they're looking at this hour, that there are authorities elsewhere?
Indeed, David. The FBI and local authorities are at a number of scenes, including the parents' home. They are doing a methodical search. We will have some additional guidance on whether other people have been injured. We're not quite ready to report that information just yet, but that is one of the concerns going forward.
Part of the
All right, so as you heard in that latest tidbit from ABC News, they're talking about how one of the victims, an adult victim, could have actually been the mother of one of the shooters. So obviously, she was most likely the primary target. I don't know exactly. We don't know why he would want to kill his mother. I mean, I'm sure many of you have thought about killing your mother. I think we all have at one point or another. You know, maybe by accident or something, but not really just shooting them. But they're showing all these images on the computer here on the internet. Kids crying, kids running to safety, parents hugging and kissing their kids like crazy, and I'm sorry, I'm a little all over the place. It's very emotional day for me. This is not the show I originally intended today to do. I was going to do something a lot more fun and lighter, but this came up and I had to talk about it because it did, in fact, move me. You know, it did affect me on some level, you know. So yeah, it's believed that one of the shooters actually went in there and killed their mother, who was a teacher at the school. A lot of talk was put out today by some people about why these things happen, and one of the things they came up with was a lack of gun control. And I'm sorry, but that is not the problem, actually. To be perfectly honest with you, let's face facts. Gun control works really, really great for the average person like you and I, you know, who we want to buy a gun. No, you can't have one. Okay. You know, that's usually the way it works. It's like, if I want to legally buy a gun and they say no, well, I'm pretty much fucked. I'm not getting a gun legally. But this is where it comes in. You know what? We got the president coming up here. Let's see if we can listen in a little bit, see what he's got to say here, okay? Hold on.
Malloy and FBI Director Mueller. I offered Governor Malloy my condolences on behalf of the nation and made it clear he will have every single resource that he needs to investigate this heinous crime, care for the victims, counsel their families. We've endured too many of these tragedies in the past few years, and each time I learned the news, not as a president, but as anybody else would, and that was especially true today. I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today for the parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers of these little children, and for the families of the adults who were lost. Our hearts are broken for the parents of the survivors as well.
Okay, we are gonna take a break from the president right there. We're down to on this live cast. We have less than 4 minutes to go, so we're gonna get back to him. I'm gonna do another show for you guys out there and see if we can keep up to date on what's going on. But if you could watch the president right now on ABC News here, he's breaking up. He's starting to tear up. He is. His eyes are bloodshot. They're teary. They're glassy. He keeps wiping away tears from the corners of his eyes. He's a lot like me right now. It's just. It's almost too much. It's just so difficult to wrap your mind around what happened, and knowing that it could happen again. My girlfriend has a saying. She says that if I ever live to understand the logic behind something like this, kill me now. And I understand where she's coming from. And nobody wants to most people do not want to understand what it takes to understand the desire, the impetus to do something like this. We all have our little revenge fantasies or murder fantasies of people that have done us wrong, or or maybe we like to fantasize the word ninjas. Who knows? But it takes a very, very, very specific type of person to decide one day to get up and say, "I'm going to go shoot my mother and a bunch of kids, and I got a friend to join me." For me, that's kind of the kicker right there. It's usually this is a lone gunman nut kind of thing, okay? But no, this guy was able to find somebody else. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go shoot my mother and a bunch of kids at an elementary school. You want to come with? Yeah, sure, I'm down. See, that's what scares me even more. That he found somebody else to do this with him. No, that's scary. Now, like I said, I am gonna continue with this. I'm gonna do another show. And checking in on the news and seeing what's happening. I'm going to take a break right now and start setting up for the next show, okay? I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I will be right back. Promise.
Away from his face several times, talking about what it must be like for those parents to be in Connecticut this evening, talking about how the majority of those who were killed today in Newtown, Connecticut, were children, as he described them, beautiful little kids between 5 and 10 years old, talking about how their lives, the things that they would want to do in their lives, having children of their own, would never happen. Our hearts are broken today, he said. As a country, we've been through this too many times. He did vow there was one note of politics, slightly, vaguely, saying we're going to have to come together to prevent further accidents like this, or further tragedies like this from ever happening again, regardless of the politics. But for the most part, he stayed away from that, talking about the need to for every parent to come together and hug their children a little tighter this evening. And of course, he said there would be families in Connecticut this evening that will not be able to do that. It was a very emotional address, without question, the most emotional I've ever seen him here at the White House. David?
I'd have to say the same thing, Jake, in watching him. He wiped away tears several times, and I was moved really by the same thing, Jake, when he pointed out that the majority of the victims in this school were children, and he said, as he addressed this nation, they were 5 to 10 years old. and they just had dreams of many of them what Santa would bring for Christmas, what they would celebrate with their family during Hanukkah in these recent days, making it through the end of these next couple of weeks so they could have that great, well-deserved Christmas and New Year's vacation. And as Jake points out, he said, Michelle and I will hug our own children, even though many in that...
Okay, well, my bad. Apparently, this is continuing. Normally by now my show would have ended, but I'm looking at my board here, and it's letting me go on. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the importance of the story or what have you, but I thought I'd just, play the news for about a minute and a half and then, take a break and then come back to all of you, which I still pretty much